First, a personal experience so you can feel how important it is, the impact of any expectation you have on your result. I'm going to ask you to stand up. If you're at home, stand up. Put your finger in front of you like this. And on your shoulder side here, go back as far as you can behind your back and notice where that is. So please have a look at that and benchmark it. How far did you go back? And then come back. Now, I asked you to go back as far as you possibly could. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to imagine vividly, to close your eyes and imagine your finger went even further than it did before. And tell yourself, my finger went even further than it did before. And once you've seen it and heard it go further, I'm going to ask you to go further than you went before. Go. Okay, I don't think I even need to ask you. Everyone went a little bit further. What I want to leave with you here is whatever film you're playing in your mind, before you walk in to perform, you'll be limited by whatever your expectations are. So the technique I want to share with you is this. Before you walk into the room for any important event, anything of consequence, I'm going to ask you to stop and check your state. When you check your state, you'll find one of two things. Either you'll be relaxed, confident and focused, or you'll be tense, worried, and distracted. If you're on this side where you're focused, confident, and control, don't change anything. If you find yourself on this side where you're tense and worried, what you're doing is you're preparing for failure. Everyone's had the experience where you're coming into an event and you're imagining what's about to happen. Supposing, for instance, before I did this workshop this morning, and I'm driving in, and suddenly I get a freak snowstorm. Nobody expected it, but there it is. There's cars in the ditches, there's no way I'm going to arrive on time. Where does the blood flow in my brain? Probably not the thinking part, probably the reptilian part down here. When I'm in the reptilian part of my brain, am I fantasizing about all the wonderful things that are going to happen when I arrive? Not likely. What you'll be doing is playing worst case scenarios in your head. Now, usually you're not aware of them, you're just aware of the way you feel. But if I were aware, it would be something like this. Oh my God, I'm going to get in there and everybody's going to be angry and they'll never hire me again. And pretty soon they won't hire anybody on my team, and then the business is going to go bankrupt, my kids are going to starve. Well, maybe not that far. But if I entertain this film of negative fantasy for 2 or 3 hours driving in to the workshop, when I finally do meet you, what am I going to project to you after 2 or 3 hours of negative fantasy? Exactly. It's all about failure, lack of confidence. I communicate to you and I get back exactly what I expected. Not because of you, but because of me. So when you find yourself in this negative fantasy, you've checked your state, you want to shift as quickly as possible. 2 steps. Step number 1, regain composure. Now we've seen a few of these already. Posture, abdominal breathing, smile. And then once you're in the physical state, then you start imagining a reasonable, positive film about what might happen instead of your negative fantasy. For instance, in the case of the snowstorm, what could I imagine instead? Exactly. It's a snowstorm for everybody, not just for me. So when I get in there, everybody is obviously going to understand. I'll probably even get in there before some other people. We'll have something in common. This will be the best workshop I've ever done. And then for 2 or 3 hours, I'm driving in imagining the best workshop I've ever done. When I finally do get there, best workshop I've ever done. Next time you have an important meeting or an important event, stop, check your state, adjust, posture, smiling, breathing, reasonable positive film.